How long have you guys been on hunger strike?
What time is it now?
24 hours about.
Are you starting to get pretty hungry?
Feels good. Yeah, feels good.
So explain to me why you're on hunger strike right now.
Because DC doesn't have a vote in Congress, doesn't vote in the House, doesn't have a vote in the Senate. And also, DC's budget is hijacked by the fact that it doesn't have budget autonomy, meaning that if you pass the budget, Congress can still oversee it. No other state has that.
No other city has that.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And
budget autonomy leads to legislative autonomy as well. So if we pass a law in DC, Congress can oversee that. Daryl Issa of the Oversight Committee can change that law within 30 to 60 days.
So I'm guessing this is a continuing sort of effort on your part. What do you think is going to be the next step to try and win DC voting rights?
So the next step is introducing these legislations which you outlined in our declaration, and getting Congress to start right away. Because if you want to see meaningful action on this done, we have to start now. We're starting. We have our energy. We're ready to talk. But until then, we'll be here.
And finally, how long do you think you're going to continue to be on hunger strike for?
So until DC has the vote.
Wow, really?
Congress can go out of session, but we'll still be here. We're certainly allowed to call emergency sessions, and it's been seen before.
So what happens if you don't? If, for example, in about 50 days, like when you start starving to death, will you have to what will you do?
Yeah, we hope that doesn't come to that, so we don't. We have a plan individually for our bodies and how we're dialoguing with our bodies, but that is obviously a personal decision. So
okay,
we want to continue to be here until that vote.
All right. Well, thank you very much, man.
Solidarity with the 3 young men who are doing a hunger strike for DC, for voting rights, for full democracy for DC, and I admire them so much. My name is Denise Jenkins. I'm with Free DC, Stand Up for Democracy, and we've been fighting for a long, long time. And it's wonderful to have some young people who care.
So, what do you think is going to be the impact of this hunger strike?
It's like a snowball. Every bit, every piece of it adds more power to helping the people of DC. And it's not just about DC, it's about the whole country. I mean, how can you say you're a democracy and your capital has no participation in it whatsoever? So it's going to make a huge and we're going to make sure it makes a big difference.
And you said yesterday that you were arrested. Can you just?
No, I was arrested in April.
You were arrested in April. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I thought I misheard yesterday.
Yeah. Well,
was that for DC voting rights or?
It was for statehood. Some people were there for voting rights. I'm for statehood, for full statehood. So we become the 51st state. We were arrested with the mayor in April 11th of 2011. We just got out of court about a month ago. And this is an ongoing movement. I've been arrested like 8 times. Some people it's their first time. But the more people that get involved, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, in your opinion, do you think one of the reasons why the DC's been much kind of the occupiers is because DC doesn't have voting rights, and so there's more incentive to keep the occupiers here? I'm curious if because that's my personal theory.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know if anybody agrees with me.
Well, you should have. I like your theory.
Yeah.
It sounds good. I would say that in general, the police here are used to demonstrations, and we have. This is the thing about DC. Mm-hmm. We would be the most progressive state. We have the most progressive policies, needle exchange, medical marijuana, anti-death penalty, pro-choice. I mean, we are progressive people. So when we see people out here fighting for something, I heard the police were telling some of the people who were arrested on K Street that they love them.
Yeah. Now, I want you to comment on something I was listening today actually, listening to the Kojo Nnamdi show, and they invited a guest on who said that DC residents were getting.
Get them in care.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm gonna get them. Don't worry. He said that businesses and DC residents were frustrated with the occupiers. Do you think that's true, or?
That's probably true. I mean, it's an inconvenience, and that's part of civil disobedience. You have to make things inconvenient for people. But I go around DC and I hear a lot of people support what's going on. Maybe if they're not here, they can't be here. They have to work. People that actually have jobs. But I wouldn't agree with him. And one thing is, you might keep in mind that he is a rather middle of the road type. You know, he's not a progressive, unfortunately.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about your sign.
Well, my name's Barton Turner. I'm a DC resident, and I've been sort of doing like a one-man protest since March of this year. I'm a former elementary school teacher, and my kids in DC now are growing up, and they're 18, 19, 20 years old, and they don't have the same right to representation in Congress as children growing up, in other states and congressional districts. So I began like a one-man kind of protest, and I've been making signs like this since March and carrying them to the White House and the Capitol and talking with tourists and student groups, just trying to explain, because most people don't understand that if you're a citizen in D.C., if you move here, we don't have a full representative, and we don't have any. We can't vote for senators. We don't have senators from D.C. So in effect, democracy doesn't exist in D.C. So I began my protest, and then the mayor and Congress added riders to bills that interfered with local laws. And so the mayor got fed up, and a whole bunch of other people did. And to date, 72 local citizens have been arrested on behalf of their fellow citizens to try to bring attention to the fact that we're disenfranchised. So I was arrested on April 18th, and 5 months later in September, when I went to court, the government dropped charges against me, so I wasn't able to make a formal statement in court. But now I've just kind of like gotten my, I was inspired earlier by Arab Spring, and now I'm inspired by Occupy movement. So I'm back out in the street with my signs, talking to people, trying to bring attention to this issue.
And so how do you feel about the people in hunger strike right now?
You know what? I just found out about that, and you know what? When I was, I had actually considered that if I had been arrested. I mean, if I had been convicted. So I'm sorry that that it's come to this in America, where people have to put their own lives at risk on behalf of other Americans for the sake of participatory democracy. It's so my heart goes out to them. And I hope that it will bring some much-needed attention to this.
Finally, I want you to make a comment about, I don't know if you listened to the Kojo Nnamdi show earlier today, but basically he invited a guest who was saying that Occupy DC was losing the support of DC residents and DC businesses. Do you agree with that, or do you disagree?
Well, I mean, that's it's not a yes or no thing. I mean, probably some of the local businesses right around here aren't real happy. As a DC resident, I'm like a nature guy, so I kind of feel for the grass and the dirt. I mean, I'm a dirt lover guy, but I do understand that this is a big issue, and I think that maybe the trees will forgive us and the grass, and that after it's over, I mean, it's that they'll reseed and everything will be okay. But yeah, I mean, I understand that. If you love nature, and then you see like tents and mud. I mean, but that's an aside. This is much more important. What this whole issue is about. It's more important than irritated, annoyed local people. I think that I'm inspired and I'm proud of what's happening. I mean, I wish that this could all move to the mall. I mean, this is a small park, and it's it's a kind of a heavy footprint on a small park. It would be so nice. Like, I mean, I heard that SEIU, they had like some kind of big fancy thing on the mall.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would wish that this, between now and the spring, that, we could like take over the mall, get a permit for that, and instead of having hundreds of tents, maybe have thousands of tents. So I definitely, as a DC resident, I support the Occupy movement.